Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ora News broadcast. I'm Daniel Cook, your host for the English edition, in which we are pleased to serve the international community by offering the Albanian news in English, weekdays at 6. In today's news, the Interior Minister spoke today about the ongoing investigation into the murder of Artan Santo. The Interior Minister, Sajmir Tahiri, said today at the Investigation Law Committee that the investigations into the murder of the businessman Artan Santo are continuing, but that they are experiencing difficulties. The minister urged the opposition MPs not to politicize this serious event, but to join with the police. 2 draft laws on the use of firearms and on weapons aimed at strengthening the public security were presented today at the Commission of Laws by Minister Tahiri. Stemming from this, the opposition MP, Edward Halimi, referred to the murder of the businessman Santo, expressing concern about such criminal acts that threaten the public safety. We are investigating the incident, but the investigations have difficulties. Do not politicize the issue, but be on the side of the police, said the Minister of Interior. The murder of the businessman and banker, Artan Santo, was a matter of debate in the meeting of the Legislative Committee today, in which the legislative package that aimed at strengthening the public safety was being discussed. The Democrat MP, Edward Halimi, bringing this serious crime to attention, stated that criminals with motorcycles are killing businessmen close to the parliament, and that the issue of public safety is currently in question. In his response, the Minister of Interior requested that the issue not be politicized. According to Tahiri, whoever killed Artan Santo definitely wants to make noise. The killing of Artan Santo is a tragedy. We are investigating, but the investigations have difficulties. Do not politicize the issue. Join with the police. Whoever killed Artan Santo wants to make noise, Tahiri said. Turning to the legislative package on weapons and their use, which was introduced to the committee, the Democratic MP asked the Interior Minister whether this package will provide public security. He answered, "Of course, the law regulates the legal weapons and does not deal with illegal weapons," replied Tahiri. According to him, the 2 bills that were introduced better regulate the issue of illegal weapons and their use in case of a threat to the life of a police officer or any other person. These draft laws, he added, are a step closer to setting higher standards for combating crime, which is a tough fight and requires that the police should be supported and encouraged. Justice should do its work, not just the police, said the Interior Minister to the deputies of the opposition. Investigations are continuing into the 2 cousins that were arrested on the day of the murder of Artan Santo. The state police have reported that they are going to be testing traces of gunpowder that were found on the hands of the cousins Sajmir and Klodian Gjoza. The cousins were arrested as suspects in the assassination of the banker Artan Santo. The police have announced that they will also be tracking the signal of their cell phones to determine whether they really were or where they really were on the day of the murder. Sources from the investigation team that was set up to investigate the murder of Artan Santo explained that the phones will be crucial for further investigations. Thanks to the tracking signal of their mobile phones, it will be determined whether the 2 cousins were in Tirana that day in the block area or in Fushkruja as they claim. According to the investigators, the motorcycle that was found in the car repair service where the cousins worked has some differences from the one that was used by the 2 perpetrators. The investigators will determine the source of the traces of gunpowder on the hands of the Gjoza cousins. If it comes from gunshots, they will be the prime suspects in the murder of Santo. But the 2 young men from Fushkruja claim that they were working in their auto service when Artan Santo was killed. It is for this reason, according to them, that they had gunpowder on their hands. Currently, Klodian and Sajmir Gjoza are in prison after the court decided to hold them for 15 days until the end of this test by the police scientists. The OSCE ambassador took part in a conference today that dealt with the improving of the prison systems in Albania. Ambassador Florian Raunig, who is present at a conference for the reform of the penitentiary systems, said that the presence of the OSCE will continue to support the increase of the capacity of the prison, as according to him, overpopulation is a problem. He appreciated that the conditions have improved, but there is still so much to be done in some areas, such as the situations of prisoners with mental health problems and individual programs of rehabilitation and reintegration. He said, "The OSCE presence in Albania has long been a reliable partner of the General Directorate of Prisons, offering its contribution and assistance in the legislative field, as well as in increasing the capacity of the staff. The OSCE presence has supported the recent changes in the legislation of the penitentiary system and is ready to continue providing expertise for the fullest possible implementation of this legislation. The situation in the prison system in Albania has shown significant improvement in the recent years. However, there is still much to be done, mainly in specific areas such as the situation of prisoners with mental health problems, but also the need to improve individual programs of rehabilitation and reintegration, as envisaged in the recent changes to the law. The OSCE presence plans to continue its support for increasing the capacity of prison staff through the establishment of a sustainable training system that will fit the needs of the prison system and will be developed and implemented by the General Directorate of Prisons. Through this training system, the General Directorate of Prisons will be able to provide a qualitative increase of staff capacity using internal human resources. Unfortunately, even after the commendable work of the probation service, a service which is continuously supported by the OSCE presence, and even after the enforcement of the amnesty law, overcrowding in the prison system continues to be problematic. Each person in the prison system costs money for the Albanian taxpayers. The cost of a detainee is €439 per month. Having fewer people in prison means more funds that can be used for services for the Albanian citizens, said the ambassador. According to him, the security measures in prison custody should be used only as a last resort by the court and not as a routine decision. He continued, "The OSCE presence expressed its maximum appreciation for the work that has been done by the Directorate of Prisons for the development of the term strategy. Personally, let me express my appreciation for the open and transparent process that was followed in this case, which is a good example for other institutions," he said. The General Director of Prisons, Artur Zoto, highlighted the work done by the institution he leads to improve the infrastructure of the penitentiary system in the country. "We have developed a European legal base. Prison police law and the treatment of prisoners have been the foundation of our work. We have fought corruption. We have created a representation of convicts from all over the country to cooperate in identifying the problematic issues that convicted people have in order to take the necessary measures to overcome this problem," said Zoto. This conference was also attended by the Minister of Social Welfare and Youth, Erion Veliaj, who emphasized that the attention of the government is focused on the reintegration of the prisoners, the employment of prisoners, and their social support. Video evidence may reveal the truth in the case of Arbin Throku, who is on trial for murder. The trial against businessman Arbin Throku, who is suspected of killing the police commissioner Dritan Lamaj, has entered an interesting phase. The panel has decided to accept a request for a video display, which shows the moment of the assassination of the commissioner. These images were filmed by security cameras of the businesses in the area of Vasil Shanto in Tirana, where the event occurred on January of 2013. The video will be shown on the 9th of July in the Court of Serious Crimes. In addition, the next sessions will be of great interest because the witness, Arbin Ndoi, will be questioned. Mr. Ndoi claims to have seen businessman Throku at the scene, in the car that the shots came from. At today's session, the defendant, Arben Throku, had strong accusations for the prosecution, calling them a gang that jails businessmen while other gangs kill businessmen. The opposition leader, Lulzim Basha, spoke at a conference today about the administrative territorial reform. The mayor of Tirana, Lulzim Basha, attending a conference of elected officials on the territorial reform, said that the political parties must find a common language and create a real territorial reform, which includes the decentralization and strengthening of the local government. He said, "When there is a will, there is always time. We do not demand anything more than the European and democratic standards for this country. The government and the media say that we want our own map. They say that we will start a political battle, but these things are not true," said the leader of the Democratic Party. "Driven by the interest of the citizens, we have gathered as people who have responsibility to serve, through actions, the citizens of our municipalities and communes, to enable rapid investment and services. The citizens know very well that the opposition has held the door open for cooperation in the function of a real administrative territorial reform. The political accounts should not be on the basis of the reform, but the response we have received has been hostile. It is the first time that consensus has been refused," Basha said. Albania's President of the Assembly, Mr. Ilir Meta, has begun an official diplomatic visit to the country of Israel. The Speaker of the Parliament, Ilir Meta, began his official visit to Israel with a special reception by the Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, Mr. Yuli Edelstein. Mr. Meta, accompanied by a parliamentary delegation comprised of Mrs. Valentina Leskai, the chairperson of the parliamentary group of the Albania-Israel Friendship, the chairman of the parliamentary group of the Democratic Party, Mr. Edi Peloka, and Mr. Shkelcim Salami, a member of the parliamentary group of the Socialist Movement for Integration. Mr. Meta expressed satisfaction for his visit to Israel and the conviction that relations between the two countries are experiencing a phase of dynamic and concrete development. The Speaker of the Israeli Parliament, Mr. Yuli Edelstein, expressed appreciation for the first visit of a President of the Assembly of Albania to Israel, by emphasizing that the traditional friendship between the two countries is a solid base of development in all fields. In this context, Mr. Edelstein expressed the deep gratitude of the people of Israel for the valuable contribution of the Albanian people, who sacrificed in order to save the Jews during World War II. "We will never forget what Albanians did for the Jews in the past, during the war. Now the time has come to make our relationship more concrete in the future," said Mr. Edelstein. Mr. Meta and Mr. Edelstein shared a common conviction that the interparliamentary relations have a special importance in the development of bilateral cooperation, and in this regard, they agreed to intensify the contact through mutual friendship groups and corresponding parliamentary committees on priority areas such as energy, agriculture, tourism, water management, and telecommunications. Both speakers also agreed to intensify the joint efforts in multilateral platforms to consolidate peace, security, and stability in the Middle East and the Balkans. In this context, Mr. Meta stated the position of Albania, which is in favor of advancing the international efforts to find a lasting solution for peace and stability throughout the region. In conclusion, the President of the Assembly, Mr. Meta, invited Mr. Yuli Edelstein and the Israel-Albania Friendship Group for an official visit to Tirana, an invitation that was received with pleasure. The Democratic Party has held elections for their party formations throughout the country of Albania. These elections have been accompanied by an analysis of the defeat that the Democratic Party suffered last year after 8 years in power. There have been many accusations against the former heads of the Democratic Party and the state officials appointed by this party. They have suggested that none of the previous officials should run for the leadership positions of the party. This request has been approved by the head office of the party. The party proposed and elected new figures in this process. The head of the Democratic Party, Lulazim Basha, says that a new wave is coming for the opposition. Speaking today in the Democratic Party Election Assembly in Kruja, Mr. Basha considered the party elections as being very important for the recovery of the party, its opening up to new elements, and its unification. By putting the free vote at the foundation of the party's system, every member is responsible to elect those who will lead the Democratic Party toward victory, said the leader of the opposition. Basha also talked about the serious economic and social situation that the country is going through under the current government. According to the head of the Democratic Party, today Albanians everywhere are experiencing poverty. Taxes are being increased every day, and unemployment has reached its peak. In view of this situation, Mr. Basha has demanded that the new head of the Democratic Party should draft platforms of development for their areas in order to come out with a joint platform for the new government of the country. We are here to offer Albanians a platform of development, he said, a true alternative and not a lie, to offer employment opportunities, well-being, safety, and a strong economy, said Basha. A report has been published on the performance of Albania's customs in the past 6 months. Albania's customs have improved their performance and have had positive indicators in revenue collection for the first 6 months of this year. According to the report that has been published, the Customs Administration in January through June 2014 has cashed 69,295 million lek, out of the 69,290 million that was provided. Compared to the same period a year ago, the customs have 7.9 billion more in the state budget, with an increase of 12.9%. The data shows that the revenue collection during June was the largest, and compared to the same period of the previous year, 2.6 billion more lek have been collected. The high amount of money received in June is also related to the increasing quantities and values of the goods that are treated with excise compared to June of 2013, including fuel, cigarettes, coffee, and beer. According to the customs report, the awareness campaigns in the field of excise, organized by the General Directorate of Customs in collaboration with Crown agents, have affected the revenue growth. During the first 6 months, there has been a positive trend in terms of increasing exports, which have increased by 9%. The main contribution continues to be active processing, with 32%. The significant increase in the implementation of the obligations provided by law and the respective payment obligations on the part of the excise subjects has come as a result of the awareness campaign in the field of excise, which was organized by the General Directorate of Customs in cooperation with Crown agents. The new customs code, which is currently being discussed in the parliamentary committees, is expected to further improve the collection of customs revenue. A committee was gathered together today to discuss the situation of Albania's construction sector. The members of the Productive Activities Commission demanded the removal of licenses for all entities that build in violation of the law. At the hearing on the Bill of Territorial Planning, Architects and builder associations said that the legal sanctioning of this action is the only way to fix the construction industry. Max Mucci from the Builders Association had this to say: "The removal of licenses is being delayed. When an illegal addition is constructed on a building with a permit, the license of the constructor or the architect should be taken away. Of course it should be removed, since it has no security," he said. Another problem observed in the construction sector after the 90s is the lack of quality and standards in construction. "We are still in the 1989 standards. Construction standards and norms should be done according to European standards," said Avenir Kika. The chairman of the Productive Activities Commission, Eduard Schalzi, declared that real chaos has been created in the building sector. The builders expressed their concern regarding the large number of decisions that must accompany this law. They also requested that the deadline for approval of the national plan should be set within 10 months, not 20 months, with the aim of unblocking the building permits, which have been blocked for 5 years. The Minister of Culture is beginning preparations to welcome Pope Francis, who is expected to visit in September. The Minister of Culture, Mirela Kumbaro, has announced to the media the most recent decision of the government to establish a state commission for the visit of Pope Francis, who is expected to visit Albania on the 21st of September. The visit of Pope Francis on the 21st of September is good news and a comprehensive event for the entire region, she said. At the government's meeting, a decision was made to establish a state commission that will deal with the organization of work and the activities that will be coordinated during the visit of Pope Francis, she said. This committee is chaired by the Minister of Culture, Mirela Kumbaro, and it is composed of the Minister of Social Welfare, Erion Veliaj, the Minister of Finance, Shkelcim Çani, the representatives of the presidency, of the municipality of Tirana, and also of the Catholic Church. The Court of Kosovo has declared that the opposition coalition will not be allowed to carry the ruling vote. A decision from Kosovo's highest court paved the way for the outgoing Prime Minister Hashim Thaçi to attempt to form a new government, resolving a long constitutional crisis. The ruling from the Constitutional Court on Tuesday advised President Atifete Yahyaga that the party that won the highest number of seats as a result of the elections should be given the possibility to propose a candidate for Prime Minister to form the government. The ruling Democratic Party of Kosovo, PDK, won the largest share of the votes, roughly 30%, and is expected to have 37 seats in parliament. The ruling dealt a blow to a group of opposition parties that united in order to block Thaçi and elect Ramush Haradinaj as the next prime minister. The Democratic League of Kosovo, LDK, the Alliance for the Future of Kosovo, AAK, and NISMA, with the tentative backing of the nationalist movement, represent more than the 61 votes needed to elect Haradinaj, but the ruling concluded that only coalitions registered and certified before the elections could propose a candidate. But if the first proposed candidate for Prime Minister, presumably Thaçi, fails to achieve a 61-seat majority in Parliament, the Constitutional Court has given Yahyaga wide leeway in nominating a new candidate. The court's majority wrote, "The President has to assess what is the highest probability for a political party or coalition to propose a candidate for Prime Minister who will obtain the necessary votes in the Assembly for the establishment of a new government. This opens the door for the opposition bloc to get the nod to nominate Haradinaj, should Thaçi fail to form a government." Ladies and gentlemen, that is all the news for this evening. Thank you for watching. Please join us again tomorrow at 6 p.m. for more Albanian news in English. Thank you and good night.